Hello and welcome to today's episode of Spec Steppin, where we are stepping through each part of the web API spec. In today's episode, we're going to give a brief overview of the channel messaging API. As usual, I encourage you to go and read through the documentation yourself on MDN, as they do a really good job of documentation. So basically, from a high level, what this API does is it allows you to communicate, think chat, instant message type of communications directly between two HTML instances. It could be from a main document to an iframe back and forth, or two iframes. And the one example I'm going to show you is between a document and an iframe all in one. That way I can show you in one. Or it could be between web workers and things like that. So it basically allows for communication passing messages through two HTML instances. So it goes over here the methods and stuff, which we're going to use in the example. And there's a link to a demo on GitHub and things, but this is available pretty much everywhere. So this can be used right now to create pretty powerful communication applications. So let me first show kind of what it does in the demo, and then I will show the actual screen and walk through the code, and then we'll come back here again. So here's the page I built. So I've got two HTML instances running here. So I've got a regular main page, and then I've got an iframe page in here. So I've got two HTML instances, one in the iframe, one in the main page. And so then I've got an area here that messages that come from the iframe to the main page will display right here. And then I can type, excuse me, messages to my iframe for here and send it, and those will display here in the iframe. And then within the iframe, I've got a place where I can type messages and send them back. Okay. So let's jump into the code. First, the HTML. The HTML is fairly straightforward, pretty simplistic, really. So I just have a div that will display the messages received from the iframe, like I showed you. I've got an input box and a button to just type a message and send it. And then I've got the actual iframe that's pulling in the iframe HTML. Now, let me look at the iframe HTML with you briefly here. So let me jump to that. That's fairly straightforward as well. Again, I've got a space to display the messages and an input and button to type and send a message. So nothing really fancy. And the style is just for layout. There's nothing really fancy going on here either. Just some styles so it doesn't look just boring. So that's basically the structure here that we're working with. Now, the real magic happens in the code, and I've got a channel messaging API.js, which is attached to the main page, and then the iframe has an iframe.js attached to it. So let's look at the first one, the channel messaging, the main code. So as usual, and if you've watched any of my videos before, I usually do this as standard practice of mine, where I add an event listener DOM content loaded, make sure everything's loaded up. And here I'm grabbing all my elements. I'm grabbing them by their ID. And so I grab the iframe, I grab the message input, I grab the button, I grab the display, so I can then do what I need to with it. Here, though, is when I create using the API, the message channel, and we have a message channel method. So that basically gives us the two ports, and we open up the message. It's like picking up the phone. And so I'm creating that. So then in that channel, I have a port one. So I just assign it to a constant port one. And then I want to wait for the iframe to load just in case I mean, my iframe in this demo is pretty simplistic, so probably didn't necessarily need to wait for it to load, but it's a good practice to do that in case the iframe has some heavier weight to it. So in the iframe, remember I grabbed that up here, I'm adding an event listener for the load. And when it loads, it's going to give a console log main iframe loaded. So if I go back to here, let me just open up my console log here. And it says main iframe loaded transferring port 2. So if I go back, so here I'm transferring the second port that I created up here with message channel to the iframe. Okay. Make sure you don't miss that step, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm port one, if I can explain it this way, picking up the phone. I got the phone. I'm calling this phone over here. Look at me. I'm showing my age here, where this will be more modern. So I'm picking up phone one, port one, port two, the other end of the phone, and I'm handing it over to the iframe saying, here's your phone and listen while we talk. Okay. So in the old days, again, another dated reference to tin cans, put a string between them. I hold one, you hold the other. Now we can talk and hear each other. Okay, so the first argument that we do is the message. So here, that's the first argument. So here I have iframe. I grab the content and I can use this post message to the iframe. Okay, so the first argument of post message method is what the actual message is. Okay, and then the second is what target or origin. So I'm targeting the entire iframe. And then the third is what do I want to transfer to that iframe? So here's where I'm actually passing over the phone, so to speak. And then the fourth step for the port, I'm listening. There's an on message event. So I'm listening for messages to come back from the iframe from our port one. So I have two phones, port one on the main page. Here is your phone for port two for the iframe. I've handed that off. Now I'm just hanging out, listening for the message coming from the iframe. And then I have this console log message received from iframe. So it'll show here what happens. Hello from iframe. We are connected. Notice over here, it says it right here. And I'm going to show you that when we go to the code. Okay. So then I tell it, okay, once I receive that message, go into my message display and I hard code in from iframe and I just pass along the data. So that's this hello from the iframe. We are connected. Okay. And that's what the iframe is set in the phone. Hello from the iframe. We are connected. So then I add a click listener to the button here so I can send messages. So I grab the value of whatever's in that box. And if there's a message, if that exists, I console log it out so we can see it on the console log. But basically, I go into port post messages. I'm talking through the phone, so to speak, passing that message along, and then I just blank out the value. So let me just show you. Hello, iframe. This is the main page. Click send, sending message to iframe. Hello, iframe, this is the main page. iframe message received from main page. Hello, iframe, this is the main page, and it shows up down here. Okay, so now let's flip over to iframe to see how it handles taking that phone from the main page to listen on the other side. So I doing the same thing, DOM content loaded and grabbing the pieces of the DOM. And then I have a port 2 here to hold the port transferred from the main page. And so I put it out here so we can use it in other spots. And so right here, that way I can use it in here, and I can also use it in here. If I put it using let, it's going to encapsulate it, and I would get an undefined error. So I put it in the global, basically quasi-global namespace. So first I'm listening for the initial message. So on the window here, I'm adding an event listener from the message event, which is a part of the API. So I'm listening for a message. And if there is data that comes over with that event, and if it's equal to init, remember I'm sending that right here. And the ports are, it grabs the port, the first port. So it's actually checking to make sure there is a port. So that's actually listening for this, that I've sent a port across. So it comes over as an array, basically. So it zeros the first position. So it grabs, if there's a port, and if it says init, then console log iframe port received from main page. So when let me refresh here, that's port received from main page. Okay. Then I'm grabbing the port from the event. So I'm grabbing that port that was sent over and making it equal to port 2. Okay. So I say, here's the phone. And they say, oh, there's my phone. Okay. It's kind of what they're doing. Then I'm setting up a listener on message, which is the very same thing that I did over here, where I'm listening on the message. I'm listening to a post of a message actually on this side here and listening to the click, but here I'm listening to the on message right here on line 21. So I'm listening to a message passing through an event, console logging, message received from the main page. And then in that message display part of the DOM, I'm displaying the content right there. So how are you, Mr. iframe? So if I send it there, how are you, Mr. iframe? Right here, sending message to iframe. Message received from main page. How are you, Mr. iframe? Okay. Now, the initial one, I have this uh, initial hello from the iframe where connected that sends it back to here. And it shows up right here in the console. So that's when I initially handed the phone before I actually sent anything. Hey, I'm hello from the iframe. We're connected. I'm listening to the phone. And then I just added same thing, a click event here where I'm grabbing the message input, making sure there's a message in a port, console logging it out, and then just posting that message back and clearing out the value. So as you can see, it is not a difficult thing to set up this communication between two HTML instances. You just need some structure to the DOM to allow sending of messages. And then you need the ability to send and capture using the API message, post message and on message events. So it's not a difficult thing to do this. It's pretty cool that we can do this. And so play with it, have fun with it. If you have any questions, let me know, and happy stepping.